My name is Mario Vitanzi. This is Altitude Adjustment, and I was supposed to have Ryan Edwards, but he got raptured. So instead, I'm stuck with these degenerates. This is Altitude Adjustment.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you all so much for joining me this evening. And before we get started, may I introduce to you all our esteemed panel for today's show. We are going to start on screen right over here. Alex, go ahead, introduce yourself and tell the people where we could find your content.
Well, hello, everybody. This is the second time I've appeared on the Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel. First time was in Gauge 8 before the draft in April, but this episode will not get banned like that one did. Trust me, we're going to hone it in. We're not going to be as chaotic as that one was. Either way, I'm Kodiak Broncos. You can find me on Twitter at Kodiak Broncos, or on YouTube at Kodiak Broncos, or on TikTok, Kodiak Broncos YT is my handle. And yeah, excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Mario.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, we're hoping that this episode does not get banned. You did a great job last time, and unfortunately, nobody will ever know. Speaking of someone who did a fantastic job last time they were on this show that will never air because it got deleted, this handsome gentleman below me, Andy, what's up?
What's up, Mario? How are we doing this fine evening?
Better now that you're here. Where can the people find your content, Andy?
I'm on Twitter, Andy NFL with 2 Y's. I pride myself on being like one of the draft guys of Broncos country, but I can also talk about the actual Broncos rather than just hypothetical Broncos. So if you want to follow me, go over there.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, down here, over there in that corner, Marky, what's up, dude? Thanks for joining us. First time, long time.
What's up, man? Yeah, excited to be here. Hopefully, I can not make it 0 for 2 in terms of shows that get banned for these guys. Hopefully, we'll give them a nice, safe place to actually be featured on the show, man. I appreciate it. Super excited.
Absolutely. And where can we find your content, Marky?
YouTube at Marky Sports Denver. It's MARCKY Sports Denver. And then on Twitter, I'm at Marky_sports. That's usually, I'm going to try to get into the TikTok game, but those are the 2 main places to find me.
Well, I don't know, man. I was told years ago that TikTok was going to be banned, and then there's all the impending bans, and then it doesn't end up getting banned. I'm starting to think that there was no rapture either. Because otherwise, why am I here? Anyway, we have a brand new segment that we are debuting for the first time ever here on the Let's Talk Broncos Network via Altitude Adjustment. And if it's good, you know it'll just be a matter of time before someone else in the Denver media bites that shit off, because that tends to happen on this show. This is the first ever installment of Cover 4. So yeah, the concept is very simple. There are 4 of us. We are covering the Broncos, hence we shall cover 4. Each one of us will give a topic and we will discuss it. And by the end of it, gentlemen, we will have covered 4. So Kodiak, we're going to go ahead and start with you first. Go ahead and hit us with the first topic.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the first one to go. As you guys may have noticed, Mario is usually on the show wearing pit vipers, but because the mood is so somber in Broncos country right now, because of the fact that we lost by walk-off field goals in the past 2 games to very strong AFC teams on the road that we should have won. We had leads in both games. We are going to start this with the blame game, because I know that Broncos country is overwhelmingly negative right now. So let's channel all that anger out. If you're in the comments, go ahead and join. Let us know who you blame for the Broncos' initial loss. But I want to kick it off. Whoever would like to start, whichever of you 3 would like to start, give me the primary person that you blame for this defeat. It can be a coach, Andy, it can be a player, or yeah.
Andy, we'll go ahead and start with you. You go ahead and start us off here.
All right. So generally, it's tough to blame one person for these losses because first game, you lose by a disastrous leverage penalty that, well, it's just heartbreaking. It was a penalty, like 3 of them jumped them. And then you could go to Bo's struggles against Indianapolis this past week, 3 overthrows. You go to Riley Moss's struggles. All I'm kind of trying to say is I think over the offseason, we looked at this team on paper as being a 12-5 kind of team that's going to gun for the AFC West, that's going to hopefully win a playoff game, and it just has not looked like that the first couple weeks. And I'm not fully panicking, but generally very disappointing that through these first couple games we can actually blame Bo Nix. We didn't think that would be a thing. We thought Bo Nix was going to take a jump. We thought Bo Nix was going to build off of the end of the last year he had and take a jump and build towards better. But it's not looking like early season Bo Nix from last year, but it's still not looking like end of season Bo Nix. Yeah, Justin Herbert also is the MVP favorite right now, and we had to run into him, so that isn't great. So basically, what I'm trying to get to is it's hard to blame a specific person, but it's just been a really disappointing first couple weeks from the whole team.
Marky, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Andy said it well. It's hard to pinpoint on one person, but I'm going to put the blame where it starts at the top, and that's got to be a Sean Payton. I feel like a lot of the losses, you can point to a lot of plays, but when you have a team that's undisciplined, you got a team that doesn't play complementary football, that doesn't manage game situations very well, has no way of, controlling the game. They're terrible on first and second down. It's got to be with the head coach. It has to be. So I'm going to blame him. I think it's going to get turned around. I'm really optimistic, but Sean's got to get better, man, and he's got to demand more from his vets on this roster, especially. So my number one blame would be Sean Payton.
Well said. And Kodiak, before you round us out, I want to make something clear because we were talking beforehand about like where we wanted to place blame. And Andy was worried that he would ruffle some feathers blaming Bo Nix. And it's become this really bizarre situation in Broncos country where a percentage of them only want to blame Bo. And Bo is not without blame. I mean, if you've watched the first 3 games and you're trying to shield him from blame, then I don't think that we're watching the same game, and we're certainly not interpreting it the same way. Bo is not without blame. So there are Bronco fans who only want to blame Bo. There are Bronco fans who want to place no blame on Bo and place all with Sean Payton. And so Andy and Marky, you guys kind of exemplified what we as a fan base need to do in general and accept the fact that it's okay to say that it's been Bo Nix's fault. It's okay to say that it's been Sean Payton's fault. And what drives me crazy, and if you're watching, and if you're one of these people who you want to blame Bo Nix, you don't want to blame Sean Payton, but you come out here and you say, well, Bo Nix isn't getting any blame. All the blame is going on Sean Payton, or vice versa, where you're saying, oh, well, Bo's getting all the blame and Sean Payton isn't getting all of it. Your timeline algorithm is skewed, and I think you have no one to blame but yourself, because in reality, Sean Payton has not been good enough, and Bo Nix has not been good enough. Both of those things can be and are true. So with that said, Kodiak, where are you placing the most blame?
Well, I'm glad you gave me that introduction because, all right, I've got a third on Sean Payton, a third on Bo Nix, a third on George Payton. Okay, touching on just Sean Payton and Bo Nix, like nothing that Andy and Mark have not already said. Bo Nix needs to hit a couple of those throws. By the way, for those of you who want to blame the receivers, they're not Spider-Man. They don't have 50-foot arms. They can't, they don't have the ability to just go out there for a ball like that. That being said, he needs to have a few of those throws. Worst quarterback in the NFL under pressure so far this season. Can't have that from a guy who you thought was going to be your franchise quarterback. Sean Payton, as much as I want to blame him for first and second down, I think the play calling's been fine, but there's so many other issues with this team, especially with how much he prides himself on discipline and execution. Where I think this is getting lost in the shuffle, I've said this a lot. I said this last night on our show, Horsepower Hour. I said this 2 days ago when I did my post-game recap with David Talks Broncos. Also go check him out. Was invited to be here tonight, couldn't be here. Filming something with BYU instead. By the way, By the way,
Something about
we're-
virginity. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Oh, exactly. He was talking about like a dry campus or something like that. Either way, where none of the blame is getting placed that I feel like it should be placed on is with the Broncos front office. That includes Sean Payton and George Payton. And here's why. Listen, it was very, very risky to come into the season with only Dre Greenline, only Evan Ingram as your two stopgap solutions at inside linebacker and tight end. Once again, I'm happy they at least tried. I respect the fact that they tried. But now that you don't have either of those guys and you didn't make any other substantial improvements, this offseason at either of those positions, and you actually arguably regressed losing going from Barton to Singleton at the inside linebacker spot. Like, I don't know. I just think it's diabolical that, you came into the season knowing that those guys were risks. You took huge bets on both of them. And I don't blame the front office for doing that, but you got to have another plan in place. I am sick of Lucas Kroll. I'm like, why are we targeting Kroll on the first third down of the game? I'm sick of Troutman. He missed that block that would have sprung Harvey free up the sidelines had he made it. Like, I'm so sick of talking about.
He also lined up offsides for a pretty critical play, which that's the kind of penalty that you see once a decade. And I feel like the Broncos have had those in back-to-back weeks.
Exactly. And once again, on the coaching staff, but sometimes it's not about your X's and O's. Sometimes it's about your Jimmies and Joes. And Troutman needs to be better. Like, the entire tight end room needs to be better. But the thing I'm so sick of that keeps me up at night is we were talking about the same exact thing last year. We had a whole offseason to finally do it. We had, we were missing 3 firsts and 3 seconds from this roster because we traded for Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. But this past offseason, we finally had resources to hone it in. And the fact that this team is the exact same, only with Hufanga and an upgraded run game, inexcusable. And I blame a lot of that on the front office thus far.
Yeah, I think this kind of encapsulates everything. There's plenty of blame to go around, and I want to clarify this as well. Don't be the fan that blames your team's shortcomings and their failures on one entity or on one person. It's not just Bo. It's not just Sean. It's not just George. It's everything that we're mentioning from top to bottom. It's the best dude on your roster in Patrick Surtain, who had an off week last week dealing with the ankle injury, bounced back a little bit, but still had like a below average play because Quentin Johnson didn't get wrapped up. And I guess you could maybe blame that on the refs a little bit for not blowing the play dead when they should have, or blame it on Alex Singleton for coming in and inexplicably hitting him and kind of knocking Johnston out of the tackle. You know what? Why don't we focus on that? Because I know Singleton got brought up. Yeah, Alex Singleton. I think if you guys rewind a few months ago and we were kind of discussing what we thought this roster would look like, it felt like Alex Singleton was firmly on the chopping block. And I absolutely agree that Barton might have been a better keep in this instance than Alex Singleton. And part of it is it's not even his fault, okay? He is 31, 32 years old, coming off of a torn ACL, and as an individual who has treated dozens and dozens of players in terms of their rehab from ACL and assorted season-ending injuries like this, I can tell you that it usually takes guys 2 years. We've all heard this, right? Or in Javonte Williams' case, 3. Forget you, Javonte. All of a sudden, you decide to be rookie year Javonte. That's fantastic. Different discussion for a different day. We should have known that we weren't going to get the Alex Singleton that we had pre-injury. And the problem is that the Alex Singleton that we had pre-injury was still incredibly limited. If you're a box score chaser and you're looking at how many tackles this guy has in a game and in a season, great. He makes a lot of tackles. He also takes terrible angles routinely throughout the game, was a massive reason why Jonathan Taylor had the game that he had against us in week 1. It seemed like he had a disappearing act this past week. I don't remember his name hardly being mentioned at all. And so this is supposed to be the quarterback of your defense. And I don't know if they thought bringing in Dre Greenlaw would kind of hide some of his deficiencies. But gentlemen, I have a difficult time believing that whoever else they have on this roster that is on a practice squad or is getting called up can at least be as good as Alex Singleton. Because here's the problem. What made him good enough and what made him as good as he was were his instincts. He had limited physical ability in terms of the inside linebacker position, especially in today's NFL, but he made up for that lack of athleticism through his instincts. Now it seems like his instincts have taken a hit, and so has his athleticism. So something has to be done because this was supposed to be an elite defense. And only missing Dre Greenlaw does not prevent it from being elite. They all have to be better all the way across the board, except maybe Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper, who are among the league leaders in pass rush win rate. But aside from that, like, everybody has to step their game up, and nobody more so than Alex Singleton.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And I just want to show you guys one thing. I know you guys can't really see this clearly, but this is a tweet I put out at June 29th, 2025. I said, why do so many people have Singleton penciled in at inside linebacker 2? His last full season of play was absolutely awful. We didn't need him last year to play at a high level on defense. He's 31 years old coming off an ACL. So the fact that the front office bet big on him at a position where, physically inside linebackers tend to hit a wall, like, I don't know. It's just inexcusable. And that's why Sean Payton takes a lot of the blame. Bo Nix takes a lot of the blame. But George Payton, I'm just like, you had a full offseason to figure something else out. And seemingly you didn't so far.
And if I may wrap up this segment, well, really quick, Andy, Marky, anything else to add before we go on to our next coverage topic?
I think you guys nailed it.
One thing I wanted to add is I saw in the chat, we don't realize how lucky we are to have Benito and Cooper right now. We also have Jonah Ellis, Jonah Ellis is the best third edge rusher in the NFL. And I can firmly say that, and I don't even have to look at anybody else because Jonah Ellis is truly sensational. So to have Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, and Jonah Ellis in the same edge rusher room, it's remarkable.
Marky?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think our defense is so loaded. I mean, the Alex Singleton, it's just a big problem because it makes it a very easy target. Very, very simple target. Similar to how, PS2, whoever's going to play opposite of PS2 is going to be the main target. But I'm so confident in this defense, man. I think we're so deep, and Vance Joseph will get them right. But it's going to have to be in a complementary way where they're making plays and they're making winning plays for us. And then if they can't, the offense has got to pick up the slack and vice versa. So that's kind of where we've been lacking. But when the hell is Dre Greenlaw going to get back, man? That's all I'm saying.
Hopefully against the Giants. And it's really a shame that Russell Wilson couldn't exist up until, week 7. I don't think it shocks any of us. Like, we saw it coming. It's one of those things, like, you've accepted it as an inevitability, but you were still hoping beyond hope. It was like buying a lottery ticket. You're not going to win, but there's just a small piece of you that hopes, like, what if? That would be fantastic. Before we transition, since we are talking about people at fault, I would be remiss if I did not bring up one more individual. I will say that this is usually Coach Pat's segment, where Patrick Chiotti, the very handsome, very esteemed Patrick Chiotti, who is currently coaching an undefeated high school team as the offensive coordinator, and they're undefeated, no doubt, because of him. Apparently, they are even thinking of changing their mascot to the Fighting Coyotes. That's how well he is doing, but I digress. I can't break down film the way that Pat does because he just has one of these beautiful minds. So all I will say, in terms of Wattenberg Watch 2025, is that he's been bad. I think a lot of us were expecting a Lloyd Cushenberry level leap from, year 2 to 3? Is that what he's going into? This is his third year. I think we were expecting a Lloyd Cushenberry leap, and instead I think we're seeing a lot of the same problems. And we don't need to get bogged down. I really just needed an excuse to play that graphic. But anybody that thinks that Wattenberg has been holding up his end of the bargain clearly has not seen how anemic our run game continues to be despite having more talented running backs. Andy, for the second coverage topic, what do you got for us?
So I was wondering how everybody's perspective on it. I was wondering how everyone would game plan if they were the coach, offense, defense, whatever this week. How would they game plan against Cincinnati this week? How would they find exploits? What player do you want to see take a step up? All that fun stuff.
So go ahead, start us off, Andy.
All right. Oh, well, truthfully, I think we all saw how the Cincinnati Bengals played against the Vikings this past week. The final score was like 48-3. It was really bad. It was really bad. Jake Browning was panicked in the pocket. Jake Browning, the sense of pressure, he threw a pick. Like every single time they got a good pressure on him, he threw a pick. So this is a game where I want to see 3 picks. I want to see the defense get turnovers. This is a game where guys like Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, Jonah Ellis should shine. This is a game where this should be Jedi Barron's breakout game. Like, honestly, Jedi Barron played 19% of defensive snaps this past week. I want to see that go up to like 70 this week because I really don't think there's a downside to having this be the Jedi Barron breakthrough week. We've seen Brandon Jones get a turnover. We've seen Talanoa Hufanga play incredibly. We know they're going to do great. We know the edge rushers are going to do great. I have no worries whatsoever about the defensive side. And on the offensive side, I mean, the Bengals defense is really bad. We've talked about that since the last calendar year. We've talked about how bad the Bengals defense is. So all in all, this has to be a win because our defense matches up perfectly against their offense without Burrow. And our offense should match up very well against their defense. Another player I want to see take a step up this week is I want to see RJ Harvey look like he did in week 1 because week 2, he had 5 carries for 8 yards. And then this past week, correct me if I'm wrong, but he only had 1 carry, I think. So this should be a game where I want to see him get some more run. Dobbins has looked really good. All in all, and above all, let's see Bo Nix look like end of season last year Bo Nix because, again, it's the Cincinnati Bengals defense. But all in all, this should be a game we win pretty comfortably.
Marky, how are we beating the Bengals?
Well, man, I mean, that defense has got you think we have bad linebackers? You can make the argument that the Cincinnati Bengals linebacking core is even worse than ours. So we got to figure out a way to utilize. I mean, we don't really have a tight end. If Evan Ingram's going to play, he should have a big game. But we got to figure out a way to be able to exploit those matchups because there's no reason why we shouldn't score 30 plus on this team. And I think it's really going to be a huge game for Riley Moss in a lot of ways. It's a revenge game from his horrible performance last year coming off the injury. I think it's going to be a good opportunity for him to, show everybody on prime time that he can hang with somebody like a T. Higgins. And that's going to be the big thing. But the biggest key, and this is going to be the key every single week, we have the talent to match up and beat almost any team in the NFL at this point. But we absolutely cannot beat ourselves. We got to stop with all the dumb penalties. We got to stop with the, 3 and outs and special teams miscues and all this crazy stuff that's been happening. It's got to stop. But you want to beat the Bengals, man? You force a backup quarterback to beat you. You stop Chase Brown. They're an awful run blocking line. You should be able to get a whole lot of pressure on them. I mean, this game is setting up perfectly for you. The fact that Joe Burrow is not playing, it was a gift. And by no means can you not take advantage of this like you haven't the last 2 weeks.
Kodiak, bring us home.
All right. Well, first of all, a few things that I just want to see the Broncos iron out. Like, because everything is so disjointed, especially early on, I guess we came out really hot offensively against the Colts. But here's what I'm doing. If I'm Sean Payton, I am showing Jake Browning's performance against the Jaguars 2 years ago on Monday Night Football, where he threw for like 400 yards. I'm showing that to everybody in the team meeting room. Just as a reminder, you cannot overlook this team. Like Mark said, it can be easy to play into the outside noise. And honestly, I feel like this team has not done a good job of tuning out the outside noise this year. With Sean Payton saying, pumping this roster's tires so much. And I felt like they did a great job of that last year. Every team we were supposed to annihilate last year, we absolutely did. Atlanta, Carolina, they came in here and they looked absolutely helpless. And we're going to be a 7.5 point favorite, and we absolutely should be a 7.5 point favorite. So here's what I'm doing. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm reminding them, hey, gentlemen, Jake Browning had one of the best Monday Night Football backup performances ever 2 years ago. I'm making it known that you cannot overlook this opponent. Here's what else I'm doing. If this is like a little thing, but because we've had so much like discombobulation on offense, especially early on against the Titans, early on against the Chargers, what I'm doing, if I'm win the coin toss, I'm taking the ball. Like, I don't care. I know that Mile High, you want to get the fans rocking and in the game almost immediately, but we've had the defense on the field the first 3 games this year. If you can't go down the field and score a touchdown against the Cincinnati Bengals and instantly make a statement in front of the whole country, then honestly, you deserve what's coming for you on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm taking the ball. I'm hoping that they go no huddle because it feels like our offense is so much better when we're not subbing 8 dudes in and out every single series. It feels like our offense is so much better when we're not getting to the line with only 8 seconds left on the play clock. And then Bo Nix is like doing that and making it look all disjointed. So yes, once again, you should take care of the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't care who they have offensively. I don't care that they have Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, and Noah Fant coming back here. Do not give him a legacy game, even though I know that that's probably in the cards with Alex Singleton, and because we saw what Gesicki did to Sternad last year, and now you have an even less talented linebacker next to Sternad to cover his deficiencies. So that's what I'm doing. Like, that is my game plan. I'm taking the ball early. I'm reminding everybody Jake Browning did this 2 years ago, and you can't let that happen again. It can be easy to look at what Minnesota did last year or last week to him, and it can be like, well, we have a layup game. No, you do not. No, you do not. You have not proven to be the class of the AFC yet. You beat the Titans. Whoop-de-doo. They're probably going to be a top 5 pick again. So come out here and make a statement.
Carter's saying it best. I don't think this fan base can handle another game-winning kick. And honestly, I think it goes both ways. Certainly can't handle a game-losing kick where it's a last-second kick, like a walk-off loss on a kick. I don't think this fan base can handle, in this situation, a game-winning kick from Lutz, where you're either down 1, down 2, or even tied. You can't be close with this Bengals team. You guys have said it all already. This has to be a statement game. They are a captainless ship. Joe Burrow last season was the true MVP because that roster, outside of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown and Hendrickson, had absolutely no business sniffing the playoffs. They had no business being anywhere close to the playoffs. And Joe Burrow was so unbelievably good that he damn near single-handedly willed that team to, 9 wins, and they ended up falling short. Joe Burrow was the real MVP. He's gone. And I understand showing the highlights, Kodiak, and I like that idea of Jake Browning. But at the end of the day, what we understand as fans and as wannabe analysts, this Bengals team is bad. Jake Browning is bad. He turns the ball over a lot. Why? Because the Vikings got consistent pressure on him. They disguised their coverages, and they made it easy on themselves. They made it really difficult on Browning by making it easy on themselves. I don't care how they do it. I don't care about the X's and O's. I don't care about the Jimmies and Joes. This team, top to bottom, has to figure out a way to beat the brakes off of this Bengals team. This can't just be a win. They can't just cover the spread. This game needs to be over before the fourth quarter starts. This game needs to be completely out of hand to the point where everybody is tuning into the other Monday night game. And I don't know if it's before or after ours, but we need the national audience to be completely disinterested in this game. We need the national audience to be like, wow, swing and a miss there from the NFL, even though it's because Burrow's not playing, but that doesn't matter. This is the kind of game that the Broncos need to win. They have to, because next week you have Philadelphia, and then you're going straight from Philadelphia right to London. I don't care that you're playing the Jets. Going across the pond and playing in London is a difficult task. And then you're coming back here and you're playing a terrible Giants team who admittedly have a good defense, but you don't get a bye week after London. This stretch is much more difficult than people are giving it credit for, simply because the two New York teams are coming in back-to-back. And it doesn't matter. It's the sequence of events. And not only do you have Philly the following week, you have them on a shorter week because the Broncos are playing Monday night. That gives Philadelphia an extra day to prepare. And if you think that that doesn't have some sort of effect, you are mistaken. Set the tone right now. I know it's a little bit early for a get-right game, but this is where we're at. This is a team that is good enough and a couple plays away from being 3-0, who is 1-2 and in dire straits of falling way behind the Chargers and inevitably the Chiefs, because we know what's going to happen, for the AFC West crown. So again, I don't care how they do it. I don't care what needs to be said. I don't know what bulletin board material you have to have, but whatever it takes, you have to beat the piss out of this Bengals team. Bad offensive line, bad defense, no quarterback. In your home, Monday night game, if they come out flat, we're going to have some really, really difficult conversations on Tuesday morning. Marky, third coverage point. What do you got for us?
Oh, the third coverage point, man. For me, it's we always know talking about the whole. You hear about it a lot in football. Complementary football, and being able to make sure that people are the offense and the defense are working together, especially in those very key moments of the game. Well, I think we're playing disconnected football right now, so I'm going to call this disconnected Denver. We're going to talk about why is it, and it's driving me crazy, man, that every single time the offense makes a good play or they make a nice run, the defense forgets how to play football. And then all of a sudden the defense flips a switch. They start to make plays. They start to get stops. And then the offense has no idea what they're doing. And it's been the constant theme from week 1 all the way to week 3. You talk about the Tennessee game. Obviously, the offense just basically didn't do anything. Special teams was terrible. Defense wins you the game. Then you go to Indy, and the offense starts off on a tear. 21 points 21 points at half. 3 straight touchdown drives. Offense couldn't stop them. Defense couldn't stop them at all. And then the defense starts to force some 4 and outs, right? They start to, force some turnover on downs, and the offense can't do anything about it. And then they end up getting a couple red zone stops. They keep us in the game. We miss a kick. We get a bunch of penalties, and the rest of that story. And then the same thing last week. Defense starts off hot. Offense couldn't get nothing going. Then the offense gets on a tear, and the defense can't stop anybody. So my question is, guys, what do we got to do to make sure that all 3 phases of this football team are more cohesive and actually playing together for once?
Go ahead and start us off, Marky.
To be honest with you, for me, I don't know what it really is. I feel like that's why I always say you go back to Sean Payton, right? Because Sean Payton sometimes has got to understand how the flow of a game is going and realizing that, first and second down, just get yourself positive plays, put yourself in a situation where you're taking time off the clock, you're getting guys into a rhythm, you're giving your defense the break that they need, and not always taking these big time shots. I think that's just kind of how it is. And then at the end of the game, it seems like the defense starts to play really tight. So I just feel like they need to be able to complement each other better in a sense of just understanding, all right, if the defense is having a really good game, we can be more conservative on offense. We can embrace that. And it's just all about not losing the game and being very steady. Very similar to how we won a lot of games last year. And then if it's one of those games where you find yourself in a shootout, then, you make the adjustments. But that's why I wanted to, bring it up to you 3 much smarter people than me to see if you guys had any other ideas or anything within this team that you felt like could change to help the overall cohesion.
Kodiak, we'll kick it to you.
All right. Well, I've got some fantastic ideas to get all 3 phases of the game working because honestly, that's something that Mark said we have not seen be cohesive enough this season. So I've got a few fun ideas. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to let Miles, the mascot, call the plays during the first half. And you know what? If offense and defense and special teams all show up, everything should come together because then the players will just be like, wait a minute. We're answering to our head coach. We're not answering to a horse. So I would let Miles call the plays in the first half. And then if all 3 dominate, then Miles gets to ride a scooter across the field and he gets to, wave one of those flags that says Broncos country or whatever.
To be fair, it's not a real horse. That's a person inside a horse costume.
That's true.
Sorry to rip the veil off for so many of our listeners, but that's what Miles is.
Exactly.
Sorry, everybody.
You just shattered my whole childhood right there.
Santa Claus is real, though.
Exactly. And then for an actual thing, I was reading Bill Belichick's book last night. Now, you can say whatever you want about the Patriots, the Cheatriots, or whatever, but one thing he emphasized was collective punishment, okay? For every penalty the Broncos committed on Sunday, it should be a team effort because what has really, really destroyed us is the penalties. Like, honestly, the opportunistic defense towards the end of the game, you literally walked the Chargers down the field. Hufanga, a captain, slamming down Lab McConkey or whoever that was, that can't happen. So what Bill Belichick had talked about in his book is he loves collective punishment. So I know that with all these new CBA rules, you really aren't allowed to do much and you really aren't allowed to go hard at practice. But man, I'm showing what I'm doing. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm going back to the meeting room. I'm showing every single penalty that we committed on Sunday. And I'm going to be like, all right, Troutman offsides. We're going to go to the practice field. Then we're going to run gassers. And then I'm going to make everybody come back in, and I'm going to show them, all right, Talanoa Hufanga, unsportsmanlike conduct. We're going to go back out there and we're going to run gassers. And listen, sometimes that's all you need for all three phases to not do stupid stuff, because what we've done this season has just been stupid so far. There's no other way to put it. And Sean Payton prides himself on execution. He prides himself on discipline, and we have none of those so far this year. Sean Payton often says, all right, we have to clean that up. And I'm like, where's the Windex? Where's the mop bucket, bro? Like, what are we cleaning up here? So with Sean Payton, that's what I'm doing. And honestly, I think that if that won't motivate the players, then nothing else will. Collective punishment.
Collective punishment. Bold. Andy, what do you think?
I think both of you nailed it perfectly, and I want to go back to Marky's point about being a better early down team. And I think that kind of starts with, as you mentioned, Sean Payton. And I really just want to see J.K. Dobbins, because J.K. Dobbins has been incredible to start the season. He had 7.5 yards per carry last week, 5.4 against Indianapolis. Like the past 2 weeks, he's been one of the most efficient runners in the NFL. So I want to see just a lot more workload for him on early downs. I want to see RJ Harvey featured a little bit more. I just want to see the run game, because I feel like while I do have a lot to say about Bo Nix that I'm not going to say a lot of on here, but I feel like there's a lot on his shoulders right now, I feel like, and it's because the run game hasn't been all that trustworthy in terms of how much they actually get fed. You know, you get 11 carries for Dobbins, you get 2 carries for Harvey. So you get 13 carries between your two backs. Against the Chargers, we probably should have had 20 there, because the running game was working. And Bo Nix went 14 for 25 passing. So the passing game wasn't really working, and the run game was. So I would like to see them commit more to the run game. I feel like that would be how they get better on early downs on offense, and that would just lead to more wins, simply put.
Yeah, I mean, you guys said it all, and I think that we've touched on all of it. And I think the most important thing is the team needs to realize, and this is my biggest fear coming into the season, gentlemen. I hated all the national media attention. I hated that we were the dark horse pick for so many of these experts to be, you know, a Super Bowl contender, or to possibly dethrone the Chiefs and make it to the playoffs again and win a couple playoff games and go on a run. The players hear that too. The coaches hear that too. Everybody hears that. They're not exempt from it. They watch the same stuff that we do, and they see the same stuff that we do. They just don't make it public that they hear and see all of these things. I think part of the problem is they were feeling themselves a little bit. They were smelling their shit. They thought that their shit didn't stink. And it turns out everyone's shit stinks. And y'all have kind of been shit so far. And you found out firsthand said shit stinks. Okay? So maybe in some weird, twisted way, it was great that they lost 2 games that they really shouldn't have. Maybe in some weird way, it was great that despite not trailing in the fourth quarter at all in either of the last 2 games, you still lost. You know why? Because good teams can lose those games. Great teams, elite teams, the kind of team that all of these national pundits hyped you up to be, they don't lose those games. So now what are you going to do? It's all about your mindset. This team is way too good as a whole. We saw way too much from Bo Nix, way too many good things from Bo Nix for him to be struggling this much at this point in the season. We saw too many great things from so many of these players last year and from this team as a collective to not expect more. Stop feeling yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to go out on the field and perform. And really, for the first 3 games, aside from the defense week 1, and aside from the offense the first half of week 2, this team as a whole has dramatically fallen short. Aside from Jeremy Crawshaw. Crawshaw, you just keep doing your thing. Everybody else, step your game up a notch. That's how you fix things. Change your mindset. You are not the darlings anymore. You are not Cinderella. You got to start proving everybody else wrong who is now saying they're pretenders, they're frauds, because you know it's being said. So change the mindset. Now, the final coverage point And I know this is going to be a surprise to all of you guys because I didn't tell you what it was going to be, so you didn't get to prepare. Welcome to my world. Welcome to altitude adjustment. We don't prepare for stuff here. And so this is where I wanted to get unhinged. This is where I wanted to get a little bit crazy. Okay. The last coverage point that we are going to, oh, wait, shit, hold on. Patrick Chiotti in the house. Pat, since we have you here, is it true that Lincoln High School, the beloved high school from which you are the offensive coordinator, is it true that they are considering changing their name to the Fighting Coyotes thanks to the immense success that you've had early on in that program? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen. The last topic that we are going to discuss, gentlemen, why the Broncos are still going to make the playoffs. Why the Broncos are still a great team. What you are looking forward to, because 3 games does not a season make. We were in the exact same spot last season, and it was dramatically worse. But we didn't have expectations last year. Now we do. Now we know a little bit what to expect. So tell me, boys, what are you excited for? Who do you know is going to flip a switch and turn it on? Why is this team going to prove everybody right who was saying that they are Super Bowl contenders from a dark horse standpoint? Andy, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, you threw a curveball, but you threw a good curveball because I still have a lot of hope in this team. I still think that this team is going to be a playoff team. And, let me tell you why. It's because this is still a very good defense. And I know in situations they haven't been this year, but this, talent-wise, is the best defense in the NFL. Like we mentioned earlier, you have Nick Bonita, you have Jonathan Cooper off the edges. In the interior, you have John Franklin Myers, who needs to be paid. You have Zach Allen, you have DJ Jones. You have so much talent on this team. And I only named the defensive front. We can get into how good the secondary is later, that they invested a first-round pick in to make sure it's great. So let me just tell you, the best defense in the NFL is not going to go down without a fight. They are going to be in the playoff hunt for the entire year, and at the end of it, they're going to make the playoffs. All we need is Bo Nix to get back on track, and I think he can. A lot of it has been fundamental issues. A lot of it last game, you can blame on him planting his foot, because I was yelling that at my TV every single play last game. Plant your foot, because it's that easy. I mean, if Bo Nix can get back to the fundamental roots of playing quarterback, he is going to get better. And if he gets better, the defense looks like the best defense in the NFL, which I think they will very soon. This is going to be a playoff team. This is going to be one of the best teams in the NFL still. So 1-2, yes, it is quite alarming, because one of those losses is to Daniel Jones, who looked like Joe Montana against our awesome defense. But this is still a phenomenal team that is going to be in the playoff race for the entire year.
Marky, build on that hope, baby.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, like I said, am I a little bit concerned? Yes. But am I not confident? Absolutely not. I mean, Sean Payton, in his career, since he's became a coach in 2006, is a 500 coach in September. This is just what he does. I don't know if he treats it like an extended preseason, but he's a 500 coach in September. And in October, November, and December, he wins 70% of his games. So this is kind of a part of what happens. Now, it's frustrating, obviously, because you easily could be at least 2-1. Arguably, you could be 3-0. But as Andy said, this is a loaded team. This is a team that is got a lot of talent, that showed a lot of pop already, that's got a significantly improved run game, that's defense is probably going to lead the league in sacks again this year. And the turnovers and all of the controllables, everything, if you take care of the controllables, all the good stuff is going to end up starting to follow. So I don't think that there's any reason why this team can't ultimately make a run, man. Anytime you have a defense that can be dominant, and you've got a quarterback that can make a lot of plays and shows that he can make his potential, and then a head coach with the track record that Sean Payton's got, you've got to feel good about it. And listen, it's week 3, man. You never know anything on week 3. Last year on week 3, the best team in the NFL was the New Orleans Saints. How did that work out, right?
That's very true.
How did that work out last year? if I remember, I mean, the Ravens didn't look good last year. Their defense was terrible. The Philadelphia Eagles, they were talking about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown hating each other, and the locker room is fractured, and they lost 3 games in a row early or something like that. And it ultimately ends up turning around. So it's a very long season. I trust that this team's got the players that we need. And listen, if Dre Greenlaw gets back and he even gives you 8 to 10 solid games as a starter, then watch out. So we'll see, man. There's a lot of football left to be played, and I'm still feeling really optimistic about this team.
Kodiak, bring us home.
Absolutely. I just want to piggyback off of what Mark said, and I think a better example, rather than pointing out his career deficiencies throughout September, I want to remind everybody what happened 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we put this very, I think almost to the day, we gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. Unfortunately, Mario had to witness that in person. I am still so sorry you had to witness that, even though it's not my fault. But still, I'm sorry you had to witness that. But regardless, what happened after that? Well, after that, we beat Chicago, and then we lost to the Jets. But after that, we flipped a switch like that. And it was remarkable how much better that team was throughout that season. And that 2023 team, I am here to tell you right now, was absolutely talentless. And we still were able to go 8-9. We were still able to rip off wins against quality teams. We were still able to rip off our first win against the Chiefs in God knows how long. We were still able to beat Buffalo in a primetime game and absolutely deliver a dagger to their hearts. So then I want to go back to last year, okay? What happens? Well, the first month of the season offensively looks really ugly. You sat at 2-2, which I think we're probably staring two in the face again as long as we take care of business next Monday night. But what happened after that? Every single week, the Broncos had an opportunity to make a statement, especially against an inferior opponent. They absolutely did. And listen, you have the Eagles coming up after this, but after that, it's game on. Okay, you got the Jets. Their defense looks awful right now. Awful, going from Salah to Glenn's system. Then you got the Giants, a game I will be at, and you're going to make Dart's life absolutely miserable because they have no O-line. Then you got the Cowboys who don't have CD. Then you got the Houston Texans who look like they're sputtering. So listen, then you got the Raiders. Then you got the Chiefs. Then you have a bye week. And then you get to go into Washington and prove to everybody that Bo Nix can still be on the level of Jaden Daniels. So I'm excited for this opportunity because honestly, everything is shaping up to be what this team should have been. And ultimately, I know there's a lot of doom and gloom. I understand it right now, Broncos country. The reality of the situation is you played 2 of your 5 toughest games this year in the past 2 weeks, and you had leads in both of them, but you only lost by a field goal in both of them. That's the reality of the situation. It can be easy to doom and gloom, but we're not getting blown out. We're not getting the absolute nuts beat off of us, okay? So now when we actually do hone in everything, once we do hit our strides, once we do fire on all cylinders, this team will be impossible for inferior teams to be. And this will be a nightmare for the good teams to play against as well. This will be everything the national analysts said that they were supposed to be, because I was about to use a phrase that was B and then U. Those are the 2 words, but we'll save that for the very end. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking about right now. I cannot wait to see this team fire on all cylinders, because as much as we want to believe the sky's falling right now, it really isn't. And eventually the Broncos are going to punch you in the mouth.
It's all about perspective, right? And that's an excellent point. The perspective is, as a whole, in these first 3 games, they have played really bad football. They have, again, fallen way short of where their expectations are. Not just the expectations that national media put on them, but expectations that they have for themselves. Expectations that Sean Payton laid out for this team. Sean Payton put this team firmly in the spotlight when he said he's only coached a handful of teams that he knew were legit contenders and like Super Bowl teams. And he said this was one of those teams. But pressure makes diamonds, right? You cannot become a diamond if there's not a little bit of pressure. We thought the exact same thing last year when he put all the pressure on Bo Nix and basically came out and he said, Bo Nix was my guy. He was our guy from the start. We loved him. And, oh, by the way, we finessed the Minnesota Vikings into trading up for J.J. McCarthy, made it seem like we wanted him. We never wanted him. We only wanted Bo Nix. That was a shit ton of pressure for Sean Payton to put on a rookie quarterback, and it took him a few weeks, but Bo Nix delivered. And I know that the fan base has a very short memory. They only have a short-term memory. They don't remember long-term. It's all about what have you done for me recently, and that's okay. But I want you to remember what Bo Nix did for this team last year. Bo Nix rejuvenated this team. Bo Nix made it okay to believe again. Bo Nix led this team to the playoffs when they were supposed to win 6 games. This Bo Nix that we are seeing and that we have seen for the first 3 weeks, that's not the Bo Nix that we are going to get. And you can firmly believe that. The fact that they've played so poorly in these first 3 games, they are 1-2, but they were literally 2 field goals away from being 3-0. Just a couple of disastrous things happening from them being 3-0, despite playing bad football. They are not going to be playing bad football all year. Sean Payton is too good of a coach. Bo Nix is too good of a quarterback. This defense is too good, top to bottom. So if you want something to really rest your hat on, I'm getting all fired up. I keep hitting my stupid microphone. If you want something to be fired up about, realize that their best football, the much, much improved brand of football that we will see, is ahead of them. These might have been the worst games you see this team play all season. They got it out of the way now. And now it's time for them to deliver. And hearkening to what Kodiak had said, before we get out of here, we have one final segment, and it is widely regarded as the greatest segment in all of Denver Broncos podcast history. I'm talking, of course, about Bricked Up. Yes, I did make all of these videos on my own. No, I did not pay for them. That's why you can see that they were all done by Render Forest. Andy, we're going to start with you, my man. What has you bricked up?
I mean, it's just so surreal that the best show in Broncos country would have me on. You know, I'm just some random guy. But I am on Altitude Adjustment, hosted by Mario Vitanzi. That's just brilliant. That's incredible. You know, there's nothing like it. That is the only thing that could make me bricked up, is being on this show, talking about the Broncos. Yeah.
I love it. Marky, why are you bricked up?
I'm bricked up, man, because I was, I was feeding off of all the optimism that you guys had, right? And I felt like I shared the same sentiment there when it comes to the optimism of this team. And I went back to look at the Broncos schedule, and I noticed that on week 18, the game against the Chargers at home, it is TBD, and it's a flex game. And what's got me bricked up is the fact that that is going to be a primetime game, either on the Monday night or the Sunday night slot. And that is going to be for the AFC West title. And the Broncos are going to remember. They're going to remember the fact that they didn't lose to the Chargers. They beat themselves, and they allowed for the Chargers to win. And what's got me bricked up is the thought of winning the AFC West at home on week 18 in primetime against the Los Angeles, they'll always be San Diego Chargers. So that's got me super bricked up, man, aside from the fact that I'm on the greatest show in Broncos country, as Andy alluded to.
You guys flatter me. Kodiak, why are you bricked up?
Well, here's why I'm bricked up. I remember there was a lot of guys up for extensions this offseason. Cortland Sutton, John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen, but there was another one who there seemed to be a lot of discourse throughout the fan base about. And by the way, okay, we got a dog in this locker room who is not getting the respect he deserves nationally and didn't, honestly, from me or this fan base throughout this whole summer. Nick Bonito, okay? First of all, Bonito came into the NFL, was the 64th overall pick. No idea how he fell that far. And it took him a little bit to get going, but oh my goodness, now that he has hit his stride, you know, a lot of people, the scouting reports said too light, too raw, just a speed guy, couldn't hold up against the big guys. What did he just do? He smoked Joe Alt. Joe Alt, the 5th overall pick from a year ago, one of the best tackle prospects in recent memory, on a Harbaugh coach team. You know he loves to focus on the offensive line. And now he's not just beating guys, he's leading the NFL in pressures. Read that again. Not just edge rushers, not AFC West, not, amongst all defensive linemen, entire league wide, from everybody who plays on the defensive side of the ball. It is leading the NFL in pressures. So he did it the hard way. No hype machine, no silver spoon, no excuses. And I don't care what my guy, Respect My Co's, wants to tweet out about him playing college football or streaming on Twitch. Okay. So offensive coordinators, Jake Browning, Jalen Hurts, when we play you in 2 weeks, start praying, because Nick Bonito, 15, is on the other side of the field, and your tackle's not sleeping this week. And I do want to remind everybody, the 2 most impactful plays from our defense this year came from Nick Bonito, and they were pick sixes as well. So Nick Bonito is him. Say it loud, say it proud. You have one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, and I don't know if a lot of us thought he could hit this level, and he has so far.
I'll tell you what has me bricked up. Our sponsor, Alloy Fitness Centennial, they are currently running a trial for new members to get a one-on-one consultation, functional movement screen, in-body scan, nutrition guidance, accountability session, and 3 full sessions with their trainers for just $99. Alloy Gym Centennial. It's not a cult like CrossFit. Go to personaltrainingscentennial.com to sign up today if you want to look like me. But it's going to take some time. No, but the real thing that has me bricked up, aside from my sponsor, I wanted to do that because I was told by some people that think they know more than they do that sponsors require a certain je ne sais quoi when you do a read for them. And I'm out to prove that that's not true. Because what my sponsor told me, upon asking them what they would like, is do an entertaining show, make sure that people watch. If it's a good show, then people will want to follow our page. Seems like a pretty good concept, but I digress. What has me bricked up is the fact that the best games are still ahead of us. Kodiak, you went on and on about Nick Bonito, and rightfully so. My God, is he fun. But who is on the other side of him? Oh, the individual who led the NFL in pass rush win rate last week 11 times. He beat his man off the edge. That is Jonathan Cooper. Nick Bonito, I think, was like 3rd or 4th. So he was also top 5. I think Jonah Ellis would have qualified if he had gotten enough snaps. The fact that this entire edge room, like, we didn't even mention Dondre Tillman. Dondre Tillman is easily the best number 4 edge rusher in the league, certainly top 3 in that group, right? This is an insanely deep group. And oh, by the way, we haven't gotten Zach Allen's best football yet. Oh, by the way, we haven't gotten John Franklin Myers' best football yet. We haven't gotten the reigning defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain's best football yet. There are so many cogs in this team that have been underperforming. And despite that, the Broncos are right there. They are so close, and it is going to click. This was the roster we were told, gentlemen, that was the worst in the league just over a year ago. And if you look top to bottom, almost every single person on that roster, aside from some aforementioned players that we discussed earlier, but I have faith that even they'll turn it around, they have all proved everyone wrong. They continue to prove everybody wrong. And it went from the worst roster in the NFL to all of a sudden it's a top 10 roster. That doesn't happen by accident. And mark my words, this team very, very soon and very shortly will start playing like a top 10 roster. It is inevitable. There is too much talent spread across this team to not be a better football team. So that's what has me bricked up. Not the fact that they started 1-2 and should be 3-0. Not the fact that we're wallowing in misery a little bit because they let 2 games drop that they should have won. But it's because the season isn't decided by week 3. It's because the season isn't decided in September. Thank God for Sean Payton. He'd never get a coaching job ever again. No, it's because the season is decided throughout the actual fucking season. You play 17 games for a reason. There's still 14 left. And the Broncos are going to get better and better and better in each and every single one of those games. That's what has me bricked up. That and our sponsor, Alloy Fitness Centennial. Alloy Fitness. Make sure you check them out if you want to be in good shape. And if you don't, well, I guess that's okay too. So like I'm not okay, you're not okay, and that's okay kind of thing. Anyway, closing remarks before we get you all going. Kodiak, anything that you want to plug? Any final thoughts? Hit us.
Yeah, of course. So all I can say is, guys, I alluded to this, but it's all about perspective. Mario alluded to this too. We're 1-2. everything will be okay. We have the GOAT of making in-season adjustments as our head coach. And Bo Nix historically has started slow as well. Even if you look at his time at Auburn and Oregon, we will be fine. That's what I want to say. Once again, you want to know where to find me, Kodiak Broncos on Twitter, YouTube, or TikTok. And yes, thank you.
Andy.
What's awesome to me about this Broncos season right now, like the best thing about the team to me right now is we just had the defensive player of the year last year. And currently, if the season were to end today, we would have another defensive player of the year, but a different player. That's how good this defense is. You know, it was Pat Surtain last year. It would be Nick Bonito this year with how he started. That's incredible to me. So I'm happy we paid Nick Bonito. He's worth every penny. He's a very good football player. And yeah, Andy NFL on Twitter. A lot of draft stuff already. That's what I do.
The best.
If you ever have any questions about the draft.
The best draft stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you ever have any questions about the draft, feel free to hit me up. I have a lot.
Okay, who's
of
the
thoughts.
Who's the best long snapper in this class, Andy?
Oh, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Damn,
It's
Kodiak
early.
was-
It's just
Kodiak was
September.
pumped.
It's early for the Broncos and it's early for Andy. Andy will check back in November for your top long snapper.
Yeah.
Marky, bring us home.
I'm ready.
Oh man, I love the positivity. I think it's important that we share the positivity around because there's some people on Twitter that, if you're trolling, kudos to you because you're getting to me, man. And if you're not, then you need to just, turn in your not just Broncos card, but your sports card in general, because I'm sick of I'm sick of hearing things like start Stidham and Sean Payton's not the right head coach and we got another bum as a quarterback and all this kind of crazy nonsense. If that's really how you feel, guys, then put it really frankly and really as nicely as I can, you're very, very, very stupid. That's just how it is. You're dumb.
Very nice.
And I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry to break the news to you, but I think we're going to do great, man. Just like we had said, we're leading the league in sacks already and the arrow's only pointing up and super, super, fortunate and happy to have been on this platform with you guys. This has been awesome. So thanks for having me tonight, Mario. And yeah, otherwise you can catch me on the tube or on Twitter and maybe one day OnlyFans. But until then, it's just those two.
Before we get out of here, we actually have a comment from head coach Sean Payton on how he liked the show. I thought you guys did fantastic. Let's hear what the coach has to say.
Gosh, your own little internet shows are driving me crazy.
All right. Well, thanks anyway, Sean. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Kodiak, Andy, and Marky for joining me. This has been Cover 4 on Altitude Adjustment, and we'll see y'all next week. Love you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.